So hello and welcome to the KD Weight Loss Podcast. I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. I'm actually filming this now post actually doing the episode, and I've looked at some of the clips and I'm loving it. So I've got actually a long-term friend, a long-term person. I've followed their content. I was actually a guinea pig in her. She was doing a master's, but it was for someone's PhD. I was one of the lab people who they bullied and physically assaulted by making me do horrendous exercise, take muscles from my legs and all that stuff. She's not a horrible person, I promise, but it's just what they did for science back in the day. And as she mentioned, apparently 10 years ago, we started this, coming into each other's like lenses essentially. But Angela essentially, she's going to introduce herself, but she is trained primarily as a sports nutritionist or a nutritionist, and then went into sports nutrition. But she works in a very similar field to a lot of the women I know that will listen to this. Like I said, perimenopause women who have been battered by diet culture. And essentially what we're going to talk a bit about today, I kind of went more conversational with it, but what we're going to talk about today is the myth of the metabolism and how the metabolism is actually not the thing holding you back. There's a lot more nuance to it. There's things like your hormones, and we actually talk about how your hormones actually change things. You're not going crazy. That's a spoiler. And like how deep this stuff goes from your unmet needs to all the history of stuff you've been through before. This episode is full of gold. It's an hour and a half, so strap in and hopefully you enjoy it. As always, I always ask, look, please drop the podcast 5 stars on wherever you listen to, Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. This episode, I would absolutely love if you could actually share or repost any of the clips you put out with a friend, because it'd be really valuable to get this message out to more women, because we're both doing this because we have a very similar message, and our similar message is that we want to kind of clean up the health and fitness industry, because as Andrea mentions in this podcast, she's not actually a health and fitness person. She's an educator. She actually is here to help women educate themselves to live the life they have always wanted to live. Not for any secrets, not for any hacks, but through proper behavior change. It's doing the hard stuff over and over again, and we go through it. So hopefully you find use of this, and I'll speak to you soon. Summarize yourself. Give us a little insight into yourself.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, obviously we know each other from John Moores University, which was actually a course that we probably both started 10 years ago now, 2015.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God, it was 2015, wasn't it?
It's been a while, yeah, because we were undergrad and I'd gone back to uni. I'd quit my 9 to 5 for the second time to go back to uni to pursue my dream of becoming a nutritionist. And obviously that worked out the second time. So that's where I'm at. I started off doing sports nutrition, which was what my master's had been on, but ended up very much going into general population weight loss, and have further sort of transitioned into female over 35, perimenopause, midlife kind of specific nutrition, because I feel that's a group with a very specific set of needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it really reflects kind of where I'm at in my own journey as well. So love working with those women. And I know it has like a real correlation with like the kind of work you do. We have a really aligned message, and yeah, really looking forward to this conversation.
I hope you don't mind bring this up, because you spoke about it a bit on your own page, your journey of what you've been through. And I hope the reason we're doing this, I want you to show the relatability, because even you as a coach who's someone who's well educated, well informed and practiced, I try and share this about myself. I know it's harder from a male to female concept. Sometimes it doesn't relate as well. I remember you doing things like you did the bodybuilding shoot, not bodybuilding shoot, the show. You've done things like that. Like, kind of take us along some of the things you've done and where you've been at across your journey. Because again, like right there, you did your education, you went from sports nutrition to general pop. I know that. But I know you on a personal, like I've watched you from a personal brand, like you are a human being behind this who's actually lived an experience that can actually help people. And I think that's a really good thing for women to see. How's that been, that journey for you, I guess?
Yeah, so I would say even after I'd done so I finished school and I worked for a couple of years, and it was only through sort of pure interest and a really encouraging team leader in the bank that I worked in that I even went to do my undergrad in nutrition. So up until that point, I had probably I hadn't really had a history with dieting, but around that time, I'd moved out of home, I'd gained some weight because I didn't really know how to cook, and I felt really disconnected from myself. And at the time, it was the early 2000s, like 2001. So like Y2K diet culture was rife, super skinny, and that was promoted as the thing. Like jeans were so low that they were practically like flashing you. Yeah. So it was very much, the flat stomach, Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, all of that stuff. And I became like quite obsessed with it. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go to uni. I'm going to become a nutritionist. And I did my undergraduate degree. but I didn't have any idea on how to run a business. So I ended
Hmm.
up going back into corporate work, but I still took all of those diet messages with me. And for the next like 9, 10 years, I was working in corporate, absolutely entrenched in that diet mindset where I did like every single diet under the sun. Now, I would
Hmm.
say potentially the interesting element to this is I have never been overweight clinically.
So that's actually quite a good point because most people would be in the overweight stuff dealing with this sort of thing.
Yeah. But I think for me, it was about confidence and it was about control. So I never felt particularly confident, and I kind of almost saw like my weight as something that I could control and I could
Yes.
experiment with. And it kind of led me into quite a bad place. And like you just mentioned, the pinnacle of that was competing in a bikini fitness competition. And it's only now I've been through that experience and I can reflect back that I realize actually it was about the ultimate control, that I thought if I
Hmm.
could just get that lean, then everything in my life would be perfect. I would be happy, I would be quote unquote fixed. And I think that's a mindset that I still see lots of women who I coach
Hmm.
taken from their 20s and are still living that now. But the kicker is those old things that we would have done back then, like the diet I did for that bikini competition, would absolutely not work for me now.
The damage that could do because again, I hope you don't mind me. So from a training perspective, like again, you were a bit greener in terms of your own exercise and training back then as well. So you weren't a female necessarily come from, let's call it just like a gym girl background, who's like all up in the certain types of outfits, where like just constantly working on themselves in that regard. You were just quite an ordinary person. It's like I'm going to do this as a challenge, and like that from again, I've seen your journey on this, so I understand why you now see it as like a holy crap. I can't believe I did do that. Whereas at the time, it was actually quite a celebrated thing. You did, I proved I could do this, but now it's quite the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. So at the time, it was very much like if I can just push myself hard enough, then I will achieve the perfect body and everything in my life will be perfect. And I didn't realize that I was pinning all of my sort of everything on
Hmm.
this body image that it
Yep.
never occurred to me was absolutely not sustainable. Like it was for that one day on that stage. And then afterwards, I actually fell into quite a bad cycle with binge eating and then had to work through that and come out the other side. So it gave me some really valuable insights into, some serious nutritional issues for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a go
God, no,
on.
I was gonna say no, and to show the one thing I really like that you talk about there. Again, I've experienced bulimia in my life. I did it from a kickboxing point. I was struggling when I got older, that sort of thing. Obviously, you get heavier. You just do. You cannot be. I couldn't stay sub 50 kilo. I couldn't stay sub 60 kilo. You just develop, right? So then you're like, what's wrong with me? Even from a male perspective. So then I suffered bulimia as a deal with that, obviously, because I was like, oh, I need all the food because I'm struggling. And I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? Got to reverse that now. And you fall into those cycles, and like you said, like you talked obviously a bit about happiness as well. And it's one of the things I always try to explain. It's really hard because even you said it. You've come from someone who's not been necessarily overweight, but I think you and I can relate to the fact that we have tried things that we thought our happiness would depend on. Like you build this pedestal up, and when you get there, there's no climax. The climax is it's just not there, and because of that, you suffer more for it. Like you said, the binge eating that came following you. And I think that's a huge thing in the weight loss space, and it's going to come into what we're talking about today. The weight loss space is, oh, I want to get in shape in 6 to 12 weeks. I want to get in shape in this amount of weeks. I hope you agree with this or you have a thought on this, but I don't mind people having a goal to lose some weight for. That is absolutely fine. You have every right to look after your body and do what you want for your body in a certain time frame. You and I will make that realistic. But what you've also got to understand on that journey is that end goal is not the end, and it's not going to change everything. It will make you healthier. But if you are doing these things for reasons that go below just self-image and kind of that sort of stuff, say you're dealing with some emotional traumas or anything like that, you're going to have such more to look at afterwards, and it's going to probably hurt a lot more.
Yes. And that's it, isn't it? And I think that a big problem I have with the health and fitness industry is that it's sold on these like transformations. Let's get you to that ideal dream body and then you will be happy. And actually, like I always say to my clients, whatever you do to lose weight is going to be what you're going to have to maintain that weight loss. If you do a 12-week plan and at the
Mm-hmm.
end of those 12 weeks you go out, you stuff your face, you go right back to your old habits because you haven't learned anything, then you're going to go right back to the results that you used to have. And that I feel is not communicated effectively. Like I've got nothing against people who want to do like a body transformation,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it needs to be communicated that that transformation outcome that you get is for that one photograph.
Yep,
And
that's
then
it.
the real work starts.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly it. It is like, again, you can have these goals. You are allowed to have those goals. But again, a real coach is not going to bullshit you and lie to you and tell you that you're fixed at the end of that. I kind of talk about my messaging is I spend a lot of time fixing the bullshit that people leave them in afterwards, because
Same.
they do the 12-week programs, they bugger off. And then someone comes to me, it's like, yeah, I was with so and so, and I'm back where I was. I'm like, did they ever mention this? And like, no. I'm like, how are we in a space where we are responsible for people's health and fitness and wellness? And I'm not talking high and mighty. I just feel this is a value thing personally. People don't give a shit. They get their money, they get their pictures, they get more business. And I feel like you and I don't sell a sexy thing. Transformations sell. You get a great picture, it sells, and that's it. But I stand by one thing in my business. I actually don't use a lot of the photos I get because I ask for their consent first. And I've had some amazing ones, and like I'll be honest, one of them I've had recently, I was like, would have been life changing. She didn't actually lose that much weight, but the visual transformation was ridiculous. And I know that would have convinced a million people who were pretty sitting on the fence to jump in. But by my values, I'm like, I respect her and her wishes and her needs more than the ability to put money in my pocket.
Yes, 100%. I signed a client up recently and she was like, I just want to check, like, is there any obligation with my photographs? And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, some coaches that I've spoken to say part of the sign up is me giving permission for my photographs to be used. But she was like, but with my career, and I won't say what it is, I can't have that. And I was like, oh, your photographs are your property.
Mm-hmm.
You can share them with me so we can look at your progress. And if you say to me, Angela, I want you to use this as a social media post because I'm so proud of this and I want to help
Mm-hmm.
other people see what's possible, then I'll do it. But unless you explicitly tell me and give me permission, they're going nowhere. And I just think
Exactly.
the pressure to say to somebody, you have to be able to let me use your photographs it's quite disgusting, to be honest.
What we're going to talk about today, I suppose, and we'll go anywhere we want with this. I think that's the beauty of this podcast. You put out a post the other week, and my kind of market is very similar to yours. I kind of say like 35 onwards. Like I do have a couple of younger clients, but 35 onwards, pre-perimenopause women, that sort of feeling. The common thing I get in my group and all the rest of it is the message of, why do I feel so much more overweight? Why do I have much more body fat? Why do I have all this all of a sudden? And it's always the all of a sudden part. And I'm not invalidating that because it's a valid feeling. From a coach perspective, we know it doesn't happen just like that, but it's a hard thing to deal with. And you put out a post the other day talking about metabolism. At the age of roughly 40, there's a very common thing that's said that women's metabolism is almost bombs, isn't it? That's what people tell you. You said something quite different, and I know this, but it'd be better coming from your mouth than mine.
Yeah, sure. So and the reason I say this is because I want women to feel empowered when they
Mm-hmm.
hear it. Because I get it all the time. And you know what? I would say from my own perspective, before I started to look into this, I was kind of like, yeah, my metabolism has also tanked. Now we know we've done, nutrition degrees. When
Mm-hmm.
you look at human metabolism, it is a beautiful, massively complex process with like 50,000 different chemical reactions in. If our metabolism actually slowed, we'd be in trouble, right? We
Yeah.
would notice a lot more than just gaining weight. And I think that there's just a misconception that, oh, it's my metabolism, and that is disempowering because you cannot impact your metabolism. No
Mm-hmm.
amount of fat burning supplements, metabolism boosters, or any of that nonsense that you can buy in a jar is going to help. So then women feel stuck because, well, if it's my metabolism and I can't change it, I just have to accept what's happening to my body. And I want women to know that that's absolutely not true. Okay, so
It's
if
almost
that's,
it's that permission almost to stay still, isn't it?
yeah. And it's like, okay, I think there's a multitude of things going on for women at this kind of age. So probably lots of them will have young children. Many of them will also have elderly parents. They'll be probably at the highest point in their career that they've been at if they're working as well. So we've got like a whole host of things. We might also at this age start to have friends with serious diseases. People that we know are dying and getting cancer and things like that. So it's a really challenging phase of age to go from like the fun of our 30s all of a sudden into like, whoa, what's kind of happening here?
Yeah, real life strikes here. Yeah.
And also the conversation around perimenopause, menopause, it is being spoken about a lot more now, but I know personally for me, the words menopause or peri or anything like that didn't even really come into my social media, my vocabulary or anything until it happened to me. Um, and I was I'm 43 and I was 42 when I started to notice like really weird symptoms. And
What sort of age would you expect these sort of things, by the way?
so you're probably more looking into your late 40s.
Okay.
But really interestingly, it used to be absolutely so you'd go to the doctors and they would measure your hormones in your blood, and if they were elevated, it would be signs of perimenopause because it's basically your body kind of like trying to flog your ovaries into action, but that's
Yeah.
done. But now the NICE guidelines have actually been
Hmm.
updated to say treat symptoms even if blood levels aren't like what the clinical stats would say,
Okay, right, yep.
because so many women experience the symptoms before the hormone levels would actually show it.
So, just from my understanding as well, hopefully to the audience, so that should benefit you, is that correct? That they
Yeah.
treat the symptoms first? Yeah.
Yes, because what's been happening historically, so as we were having a quick conversation before we jumped on, I personally thought I was dying, and I can
Yes.
laugh about it now, but in at the time it felt very real. Or I was like, I'm either losing my mind and I'm completely anxious and paranoid, which is not
Hmm.
something I'd ever experienced in my life, or I am actually dying. And
Yeah. You that conversation you said, what did you said some really interesting stuff, and I think almost I'm gonna use the word the severity of what you experienced because it was quite severe. Like that's why you felt the way you did. Like what sort of things were you going through and experiencing, if you don't mind sharing that?
yeah, of course. So it started off. So first of all, I wasn't sleeping. So I had really poor sleep. I was waking up through the night. I was needing to go to the toilet in the night. And I was just waking up feeling exhausted. And I just kind of put it down to running a business, you know, the stress of life. And then I started to get really bad acid reflux. I went to the
Okay.
doctors. They were like, take omeprazole and go away.
Yeah.
And I was like, but why am I getting acid reflux? And they're like, oh, it's because you drink too much coffee. Okay, well,
Okay. Carry
now.
on. Yep. Yep.
So, so there was that. And then I started to get like random joint pains. I felt like my lower back was going to go all the time. Um, and I was just like, and then there was like the health anxiety as well. And I
Mm.
just felt like I was feeling really anxious. I was getting a lot of anxiety around going to sleep. So I
Yes.
was,
So now you're building it up in your head to the night time, and that's affecting your sleep even more.
yeah. So it was this big vicious circle. So I went to the doctors and, they were like, oh, it's because your inflammation's up because you take creatine. So I stopped taking that and they were like, oh, it's probably high just because that's your natural level. And this kind of went on and on for a period of 12 months.
Hmm.
Every time I was getting worse and worse health anxiety. And I actually didn't realize as well, I'd started to really pull back from social occasions. Like, you know,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't realize I'd started to say no to everything. Um, and we went on a trip to Ireland, driving around. Normally holidays are like my favorite thing. And the
Mm.
whole time I just couldn't wait to get home. And I was like, but I didn't recognize that it wasn't me, if that made sense.
Okay. Right. Yep.
Then the next doctor told me there was nothing wrong with me, and it was they had created this anxiety, and I needed to just go and live.
Hmm.
So I tried that, and everything was just getting worse and worse. And I had like I couldn't bend my wrist properly. I had pains in my all my joints. My hips were sore, and I was like, something's going on. And I eventually went back to the doctor, and I'm so grateful to the woman who I saw that day. And I just sort of said, look, enough is enough. There's something wrong. I'm either losing my mind or I'm actually dying, and I need you to work out which one. And she just
Yep.
looked at me. She was like, do you think it might be your hormones from everything you've described? Oh, and
Yep.
blurry vision. Yeah. So then I was like,
Blurry.
I've got a brain tumor. I've got a brain tumor.
Oh, I said the way you phrased that, like the way the doctor said, "Oh, have you considered your hormones?" And then my response was, the expert has asked me, did I think about something that they should be solving for me? Again, as I said, as a coach, if someone asks me a question, I'm not asking my client to be like, "Do you know the answer yourself first?" Like, no, I'm here for your help. Help me.
Yeah, which is it's crazy, isn't it? And so traditionally, to go back to just what I was saying earlier, if somebody had gone to the doctors in that similar state,
Hmm.
they would have been prescribed antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication.
And
So there's,
I don't. I'm sorry, you don't have to answer this. I've had a lot of experience with antidepressants over my years, and I've taken a lot of different ones. I don't know if you have. You don't have to admit or agree to that. I can say myself from the different ones I've taken, I can only imagine how much more that would fuck up with someone's weight because I remember there was one I had. I was exhausted constantly, like generally felt like a zombie. I literally could not get out of bed.
my gosh.
They sold it to me as it'll help you sleep finally. So I used to always wake up in the night every hour on the hour, just that. And they was like, it'll finally help you sleep. So this will be the one for you. I couldn't wake up anymore. So I was like, literally, like I feel like I'm drunk. Then I had one which, with my appetite, was sending me through the roof in terms of hunger. Like when I say I've never had cravings like this in my life, and I'm good at managing my hunger,
Yeah.
because I've learned how to make myself feel full, and I'm quite autistic with my food. I like doing the same thing over and over again. But I learned that. And I remember being in work one day when I was still doing the Tesco's. And I sat and I was like, guys, does anyone have anything? I feel like I'm going to pass out because I need food that much. And I kept eating and I kept eating. I kept eating for 2 to 3 hours. And I was like, I can't stop. Like, what is going on? So I can only imagine now, to tie this all in, you've got someone who's probably going through menopause and stuff like that and not being recognised, to then be put onto antidepressants, which may or may not only make it worse potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going way beyond what I thought it could have gone. That is actually wild.
Yeah. So it is really good that they've changed the NICE guidelines now. So like when my blood was tested, the hormone levels did not show perimenopause, but the
Okay.
symptoms did. So
So yeah,
now the guidelines have been changed to treat the symptoms rather
perfect.
than, and I think it's generally from age 44 onwards that they would do that. But she was like, I'm pretty certain for you, this is what's happening. So
Yeah.
she just said to me, you can try HRT if you want. Try it for 6 months. If it doesn't help, we'll look at
Mm.
something else. And I can honestly say it's like somebody opened the curtains. That's the
You finally
best way
back.
to describe it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think. Do you know what? And like, it's always difficult when it comes to medicines, and like, obviously, hormone replacement therapy is obviously its own thing. It will have its own things to balance, and like you said, like see if it works for you. Because obviously, I suppose it's not gonna work for every single person, but like that, there, let's give this a test run. You can't. It's hard to get worse than where you are now. Try it if your doctor recommends it, but keep in contact with them to keep that conversation going. Essentially,
yeah, 100%. And it's much easier to try HRT and stop taking HRT than it is antidepressants or anxiety.
yes, because antidepressants and stuff like that, you have to be washed out for 2 to 4 weeks
Yeah,
each time.
yeah,
And that in itself is quite horrendous because you get quite a lot of side effects during that.
yeah,
So I can only imagine, like, that is actually wild. I did not know that's where they went to that far with it.
yeah. And I would say as well, oh, go on,
Go on.
sorry. In terms of people listening for things like weight, so during that period, I'd gained 10 pounds, which had put me
Mm,
way out of my comfort zone. And now I'm obviously a coach nutritionist myself. And I was tempted to say to myself, well, it's just because of my hormones. But actually, because I do a lot of time reflecting with other people in their food
mhm.
diaries, there was no way I couldn't reflect on my own and be like, I am comfort eating and drinking. And I'm in this cycle of I don't sleep very well, so I'm drinking a couple of glasses of wine in the evening. When I'm having wine, I'm having snacks. And then at the weekend, I'm having more wine and I'm having takeout food because I can't be bothered to cook because I'm so exhausted. And I was caught in that vicious spiral. So I know for me, it was not my metabolism, it was what I was eating. But what I was
Mhm.
eating was driven by my hormones.
Yes. So I think that's the thing, is that your people's statements of once they learn, like you said, it's not necessarily metabolism slowing down because that happens later on in life anyway, and to the extent it's not as much as people think. But what you just said there about the hormones is actually what's going on, and that is empowering to take that. But it's also then you've got to take that and kind of some acceptance of your own behaviors that come alongside that. It's like you've got a reason, but this reason now fuels your actions.
Yes,
If that
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And it's that decline in estrogen that's got a couple of different things. So it messes up our fat and carbohydrate metabolism. So from one aspect of metabolism, it is true, it's just not the whole lot. So we're
Yeah.
going to be we're going to be producing more insulin, which obviously promotes fat storage. We're also going to change where we store fat. So prior to estrogen declining, fat for women is often thighs, hips, bum.
Yep. Yep.
When estrogen declines, it goes to the belly. And we all know
Yes.
visceral fat around the belly is detrimental to the organs, increased risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and it's just harder to shift. So there's lots of elements at play that do make it harder for women in perimenopause, menopause to shift weight, but it's
Yeah.
not impossible. It just
No.
takes some different strategies and a lot more patience than we've ever needed.
I'll keep it simple, and it was really brutally honest. But he says all the research shows with estrogen decline. He says he put it in a really masculine way, so I don't like saying this, but like he made it really simple for me to understand. He says basically they stop coming as feminine in terms of how they store their body fat and regulate themselves, and they actually match the risk factors of males at the equivalent age. So it was like up until your 40s and 50s, women are less likely to suffer from cardiovascular disease, all the risks you just mentioned. But as soon as they go through the menopause, the other side of it, that risk matches that of the male age equivalent. And I was like, that is wild. That's what menopause does. You're protected more so, and then as soon as this happens, the risk, and that's probably why there's such a huge health like decline, because it's like bang like that. And I was also thinking as well, like, so you said it's harder to lose the weight because of all this stuff. I think that's the thing in it. Like, can you imagine, like, and again, you've gone through it and stuff like that, but can you imagine just being that person? You're now starting to feel fatter. You're now starting to feel more overweight. You're starting to feel more uncomfortable in your skin. You're starting to feel these really horrible feelings. That's going to make you want to do less. Ironically, people you'll see stupid people on the internet being saying like, "Oh, but they should want to work harder now." It doesn't work that way in the real world. People do get battered by their emotions and their feelings, and ironically, do the counterintuitive action because it's safer and more comforting just to sit there.
100%.
And because I hate the narrative of people don't want it and people don't want to do this. They've got this. I hate that narrative. I despise it because it's not. Like, people have emotions, and emotions are very powerful. And we've already alluded to like the antidepressant argument. There's people who probably do become depressed and do suffer with anxiety. These are literal barriers to fixing the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I coach exercise. The hardest thing is to get someone to take the first step in that gym, especially from an online perspective. I lose that power to help them.
Yeah.
I can do things to make it feel easier, but even with the nutritional sense, it's like, oh, but every reason in front of them is a barrier, and you've got to break it down. The kids, the job, the parents, all those sorts of things. And I think that's the thing that most women aren't giving themselves that compassion for, how much stress and struggle they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis outside of their bodies.
Yes. 100%. And that's such a huge part of it that, like, I've gone to the gym for years and years, and,
Mm-hmm.
like we said, did the fitness competition, all that stuff, always enjoyed the gym. And actually, I found myself finding excuses not to go. And it was almost like, well, I don't feel comfortable in my gym clothes because I've gained weight.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think, like, the logical side of your brain is like, well, if you go to the gym, it'll help you lose those
Yeah.
pounds. But then the other side was like, oh, you could just stay here and read a book and sit on the sofa and get under a blanket. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, and then that is like, yeah, actually, I'm gonna do that. And it was crazy because it was like fighting with a brain that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
It's like an out
Uh,
of body experience.
it's like I don't know about you. I've read loads of self help books over the years. I less so, more so, but like now. But it's like they talk about like the discomfort is easier to accept than the discomfort of the unknown. And
Yes.
it is so true. It's why a lot of people stay in, and again, we're extrapolating things here. So it's why people maybe stay in the body shape they're in. It's why maybe people get stuck in relationships they're not happy in. It's maybe why they get stuck in work situations they're not happy in. Because I know for a fact, right, when I went all in this business, right, I was still doing Tesco's. I remember the absolute crippling anxiety I had. I was like, I've got a business here that makes me happy, but I was like, I don't know if I can follow it through, because that discomfort of being miserable in Tesco was easier to deal with than the I don't know if I'm going to be okay on the other side of this. So that you put that in any other situation, like you said there. So that person's already struggling with their body. You know what? I felt this way for so many months. What's the point of changing it now? Because to get out of this, I've got to go to an environment I'm not comfortable in. I've got to ask for help. I'm not comfortable doing that. I've always been an independent person. Maybe you hadn't experienced that growing up. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are all these barriers I don't think people really attribute to like health and fitness, because it's very personal stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I always find the best performing clients are the ones that are more vulnerable in that regard. They I'm never going to share these stories, but they're the ones who, like, this week just sucked, and they just they go on a rant and they let everything out. I'm like, good on you. Like, how did that feel? And they're like, they start off like, oh, but I'm just complaining. I'm like, no, you're not. You're processing.
Yeah. That's it, isn't
And
it?
I've gone, yeah.
No, I was just going to say that it's like, I'm sure it's the same for you. Lots of the women I work with are like they're excelling in their career. They've got a family, and their kids are all lovely and cute, and they've got a great relationship, and they go on lovely holidays. And from the outside, everybody's like, you've got it nailed. And so for them to have that internal disconnect of like, why can't I do
Hmm.
this with my own health and fitness? It feels like such a disconnect. And like you say, it's like that old saying, isn't it? Better the devil you know. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
sit in that, like, well, actually, like, yeah, I can't change it. And that's when people start to say it's my metabolism, oh, it's my cortisol, it's this and this and this. And you're like, but you're telling yourself those things and they're keeping you stuck. And when you actually start to say, I think, do you know what? It might be what I'm eating, it might be that I'm not moving, and it might be my lifestyle and stress, which are all things
Yep.
we can control.
Yep.
Exactly what you just said there. It's the people who are vulnerable enough to be able to say that, or for us to coach them into getting into that place.
Yes. It's again, I always say it, the amount of people be like, oh, I let you down or I did this. I'm like, no, there is no blame and there's never a bit of judgment here. I cannot believe how many coaches I've heard that are like, they almost tell their clients off. I'm like, they're grown up people. Like they have probably more experience of life than you, for most of the coaches I hear this from. But I'm like, they're human beings who have real feelings, and for you to just to go, you don't want it enough and all that, it's so invalidating. And then they feel like they're the problem because they're feeling these feelings in the first place. So when they come to a place like, say, yourself or I, they're almost in this conditioned place to be like, they don't want to ask for help. They don't want to because they're scared. They've been conditioned to
Yes.
shrink themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it can be. I understand why it's a very stressful experience for a lot of them. I always say there's like a motivation timeline with people. Every 3 to 5 weeks with clients, I expect some form of little mini blow up. Like, oh, life's going really horrendous. Because good coaches understand people work in cycles.
Yep. Yeah. Have you
Because
read have you read The Big Leap by
not,
oh
I
what's
don't
it?
believe I have.
The guy is called Gay Hendricks, I think his name is. And it's got a really interesting concept in that is exactly what you just said. And he calls it upper limiting. So
Right.
basically, you progress, like humans progress, and they get
Yeah.
to a certain level, and that's when their
Yeah.
brain starts to realize, oh, hang on, this is new. This isn't our comfort
Yeah.
zone. So we sabotage ourselves to bring us back, to bring ourselves
Yes.
back. I think you'd really like that book. And if anybody's listening, it's a great book on sort of human mind and behaviors.
Do you know that? Because that whole area of self sabotage. Because I always find it, I struggle sometimes to alliterate what I'm trying to say. And self sabotage is one of those hard ones. Because when you explain it, it sounds really like you're attacking yourself. You're not actually trying to attack yourself. You're actually trying to do the opposite. You're trying to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But when you explain self sabotage, it's like, why would I try and deliberately hurt myself? So you're not trying to deliberately hurt yourself. You're trying to stop yourself finding more discomfort and more new things and more experiences that don't fit your normal bubble that you're currently in.
Yes.
It is like those little circles you can draw. Like, there's my comfort zone, there's the little line, and there's my too much zone outside of that. Like, it is. It's like if you step outside of your comfort zone, there's going to be anxiety. And people, and again, for someone who has had anxiety a lot of their life, people deem it as a bad response. It's like, no, anxiety is a normal response to things. Excess anxiety is different, but like anxiety is a normal response to change. But regulating, like, right, how do I reduce my anxiety? And I know whenever you bring up things like mindfulness, anything like that, all these sorts of tactics, people, and I'm that one. I rolled my eyes at it all the time when it happened until I started having my panic attacks in my life. And then I was like, I have to now learn to ground myself. I have to use the tricks like the counting the numbers, labeling the senses, all these different tricks. And people are like, what's that got to do with health and fitness? You'd be surprised because you're doing something that's super stressful and super uncomfortable for you. You're going to be dipping into this more than you think.
Yes. And people aren't
We
always prepared for that, are they?
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing. It's like, again, all the analogies out coming out here. Like I always say, you have to ride the roller coaster of discomfort. Like you literally have to go. You have to keep going, flying through it until you get to the fun part.
Yes. Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're never going to experience the fun.
Yeah, exactly. I talk about it like riding a bike. So you've been to the bike shop on the top of the hill and you've bought your bike and you ride first few weeks you're going down that hill and you're freewheeling and everything is amazing. And then you hit a little bit of a flat and then you've got a pedal.
You're like, fuck. There is nothing. If you've ever done that, by the way, if you've ever had to cycle uphill for more than 20 seconds, you realise how horrendous it was. I used to cycle all the time when I was in Scotland during COVID because I worked in Scotland at that time. I didn't look at all my paths that I cycled along, and I realized how horrendous hill climbing was. I'd be on them for like 20 minutes. I'd be like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. So
Oh,
going off topic anyway.
but then you get off the hill and you're like, oh my God, I made it. I'm so proud of myself.
You're not lying. There was a hill on the other side, and it went forever. And I was like, I'm going downhill for 5 minutes here, and I was flying. I was like, this is great. I've forgotten about the 40 minutes of horrendous part of this that's just happened.
And that's the health and fitness journey, right? You've got to
Do
do
you know
this.
what it is though? When you go through that sort of thing. So right, we've kind of like actually, I really like that first half of the podcast there because all like what's happened, what problems have people faced, and what they've got to experience. Let's talk about like how we get someone out the hole, I guess. So someone's feeling exhausted, overwhelmed through menopause. I can't. My words aren't come best to me, but like, the kind of shit talking themselves, they put themselves down, that sort of stuff. Where would you start? Like, I know that we haven't got a person in mind here, but like, what do you like to do when you first get to someone? Because my first thing actually is just to listen a lot of the time.
Yeah. So my one of my favorite sort of methods is what I would call start where you are now. So lots of people come and they're like, right, Angela, I'm ready for my meal plan and my habit plan and all of the things that we're going to do. And I'm like, well, we're not going to do any of that. What we're going to do is you're just going to make a note of everything for a whole week. And I don't, so I don't, so if people sign up with me, this week is always part of the free. I don't start their start date till they've got this data, but I work with them to make sure they get it. Because I always say to them, you do not need a meal plan. You do not need to go and buy 50,000 new ingredients and learn 20,000 new recipes and all of that stuff. All you need to do is look at what I like to call a rose, a bud, and a thorn. So we get all the data.
Interesting.
So we've got your food diary, your sleep diary, your energy, your moods, anything that you want to write down and work on. And then we look at, okay, first of all, what actually already works really well? Because there will be stuff, obviously, in every client's life that actually they enjoy, it works well for them. And so that gives them a really nice positive start to think, oh, actually, I am doing some stuff that's okay.
Yeah, you're like empowering them from the first steps before doing anything different, yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll look at the buds. So there's maybe some stuff in there that maybe they're drinking like a litre of water, but they could go up to 2. Maybe they're going to the gym once a week, but we could potentially look to get another class in or something like that. You know, we look at what just needs a bit of nurturing. And then we look at the thorns. What's got to go?
I really like that analogy. That's actually really, really clever. I like that.
Yeah. And by the time they get to the thorns, they usually know themselves. They're like, oh, I know I need to, stop opening the wine. But then once we've got all that information, we're like, right, okay, my biggest thing is building intrinsic motivation with someone by actually making them realize that they can achieve their goals and they can win. So I always say to them, look, you've got to set your goals that are big enough that they are challenging, but small enough that you are 90% certain you can do it. Because you probably see this as well, like clients will come to me and they're like, right, I'm ready, 10,000 steps a day, 4 gym classes, salad every day for lunch, overnight oats, a low carb evening meal, nothing after 6 p.m, complicated evening routine that takes 4 hours. And I'm like, have you got kids to put to bed?
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, yeah, and they're setting themselves up to fail. I'm like, right, what we're going to do is just perhaps let's get your meals in order first. So let's pick a breakfast that you can eat every day that works for an energized start to the day. And it's getting people to pull back, slow down, one at a time.
Do less.
Yeah, do less. Do less and win rather than do more and feel like you're failing.
That's the thing, isn't it? You want to accumulate all the small, almost that later down the line where they become like, they're like insignificant in your brain, but they're not. They're the things that keep you on the tracks, aren't they? Like you said, like the simple breakfast, like the reason I can wake up late in the morning because I'm fucking tired is because my breakfast is already made. The reason I can go to the gym at 6 in the morning, get back ready for the kids to run out is so I can come home, eat the breakfast before I do the run outs. The reason I can do any of that is because that is ready.
Yeah. Systems.
And I suppose you extrapolate that to anything. Again, same with the dinners. I coach people to have to plan for their worst days. It's like, yeah, of course I know you can cook on your fucking best days and when you've got your meals prepped, you've done your food shop. And I was like, but what's in the freezer for when you're running late, you're between things, you don't know what to cook, you can't think of anything to cook. I was like, what ready meals can you use? What simple frozen ingredients can you throw together to make a makeshift meal? It's almost like, but that's not the best stuff I can do. Like, no, but that's the stuff that's going to get you the results.
Exactly. 100% agree. So I had a call with a client yesterday, and she's in a pattern of weekends, her and the kids get takeaways. I was like, okay, does that feel aligned? She's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, are you going to cook on a Friday night after a busy week? And she's like, also probably no. I'm like, okay, if you don't have an in between, you're going to end up defaulting to the takeaway, and then you're not going to feel good. So where's the middle ground? And we had a talk
Yeah.
through, and we were like, well, when you are on your way to the takeout place, why don't you pop into the supermarket and pick up a ready-made curry? Like, I can have a ready meal. I was like, yeah, because that ready
I
meal for 600 calories with 30 grams of protein
exactly.
is much more aligned with your goals than a 1,200 calorie deep fried fish and chips.
Yeah. I said I can't. What did I say that on yesterday? Did I? Did I? I must be imagining where I said. I might have said this in another video actually. I think I just filmed a video on this yesterday actually for my group. Literally that. I was like, the ready meal that's maybe even more than that, right? That's maybe 800 calories, right? It may not be the best choice out of the bunch, but again, compared to what you're about to go for in that takeout plus the other bits, I'm having that every day of the week. And I was like, look, I'm not saying you should do this, right? But I'm saying, let's say they got the 600 calorie curry, right? I was like, and if you had a wee sweet tooth later on, you still have maybe another 100. Most people can get a little wee chocolate bar of 150 calories or something like that. You will still be half the calories probably what you would have eaten, and you would have felt more mentally satisfied because you're like, oh wait, I don't have to stop eating now, but I can still have little bits I want to have. And it's like, it's not perfect, of course it's not, but it's far better where you're going.
That's like a huge part of my message as well. Like, I'm not going to swear because that's rude, but F perfection.
No, but it's so true. Like perfection is, it's a really interesting one. I understand where people come from it, and like I've been through spells in myself where it had to be. I did it. I've done it with my business now. I've done it with my training. I've done it with my food. I did it with my degree. I did it with my degree. That's actually what started all my depressive spells because I had to be perfect for my degree to the point where I got to the end and there was no satisfaction being perfect because the result was the same either way. I was just more burnt out beyond belief from doing trying to be perfect because there's anxiety, pressure, stress, and extra on top of you. And when you realize you don't have, again, I suppose you don't have that amount of water left at every room in your glass to fill up with. It's that sort of stuff that people are putting themselves on. So perfection is going to lead you to either no action or just burning out before you even get to the goal.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? You can't live perfectly. So
Where, like, genuinely, I ask this all the time. I don't think I've actually heard a really good answer for this yet. Where else in life do you do things perfectly? Like, I say this all the time with my son. Every week without fail, when I drop home, I go to my partner. I'm either upset about something. I'm like angry. I should have done that better. I should have done that better. Because of all the counseling stuff I've done, though, I'm like I've acknowledged my feeling of whatever feeling it was at the time, like kind of like guilt and stuff like that. And then I'm like, right, why do you feel guilty? Is it actual guilt or is it false guilt? Then I'm like, right, it's not actually morally wrong. It's just you knew that you have more tools to use and you went from here to here before you thought about it. Right, so what can you do next time? Create a better environment. It's just reflection. And to me and you, that's very common. To the everyday person, it's not very common to reflect, is it? It's very, you feel something. Oh, don't have time for that right now. Push it down, move on to the next thing.
yeah,
There's another thing. Oh,
push it
I
down.
can't, I haven't got, yeah, yeah. The food comes in now because you can't deal with it. You will feel your emotions whether you choose to feel them or not. And I say this all the time to people. It's like, you can cry them out, you can swear them out, you can do whatever you want. But I said, if you ain't doing anything with them, they're coming out of you in a way you don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
And food is quite a big one.
yeah. Because it's there, isn't it? It's in our environment. One thing I get clients to do, something I talk about all the time, is to just literally say, before you're about to make a decision with food, and not just when you're like in a bad place, practice it. If you're about to sit down and eat your overnight oats for breakfast and you know you're
Mm.
hungry, still just ask yourself, how do I feel? I feel hungry.
Yeah.
Great, eat. Because the more you practice getting that into your subconscious, that I'm always going to ask myself, how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? That when you're about to sort of open the fridge and read whatever's in there, you're like, hang on a minute, how do I feel? Oh, I feel really let down, frustrated, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. If I eat, I'm going to feel then all I'm going to have still have those emotions and I'm going to feel them towards myself as well. So,
It's very, so I look at it from a training perspective. When, again, if anyone's ever, like, obviously, for example, Hyrox is very popular at the moment, right? And marathon running, right? Where people just go and do a marathon. You would not just go do a marathon. Some people do, and it never ends well, right? They would have to practice the running at the start of it. It's the same with emotional intelligence and stuff like that. You, I don't think it's as common as people they kind of think like, oh, I'm an adult, I should know how to deal with my things. I don't think the 80 to 90% of adults do. And that's either because they weren't taught it, they weren't allowed the space to feel it. Media says otherwise. You've been said, no, grown ups. There's all these weird messages that we've grown up with. And like, I actually appreciate it more so now with my son. I'm like, you know, these explanations of this is like, so for example, when the kids are being air quotes lazy around the house right in here, they're not being lazy. They're in an environment where they're safe. They don't have to be expected to be a grown up.
Yes.
And it was so, I thought that, I was like, holy shit. And I'm like, this is some of the stuff like even emotional intelligence. Oh, why is he not thinking about that? Oh my God, he doesn't actually need to concern himself with that. And he only has to regulate the big emotions that he's feeling now. Because that's what he's like. And like, again, that's going to serve him better when he gets older. And then look at us now as we're older, because we're from the generation where being loud and being out there with your emotions wasn't the thing to do. It's very different. So asking people nowadays to be like, how do you feel? It's not easy.
Oh, no. And lots of people are like, well, I've never really thought about that before. And I feel as well, lots of people don't even make that connection between their emotions and their eating. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm just in a bad habit. And I'm like, no, there's a reason for that. And that's then empowering that, like, it's not just you. It's not to do with your character. You're not just, you're not failing.
Yeah.
Like, you just haven't got a strategy for that yet.
You probably not. I'm putting you on the spot potentially here. Do you know that? Do you remember the order of the habit cycle? Is it like, is that trigger something like that builds a habit? Do you remember that? Because I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it Q action trigger or something like that?
Trigger, action, reward.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Do you know a little bit more about that? Because that would serve really well for people here, because it's just a habit. This is how the habit's born. So I suppose with food, that's a good example, isn't it? So the Q could be, oh my God, I'm going to have to build this off the top of my head. So you said Q, I've forgotten. But that's what I mean. Like, so even if I can't formulate that there though, but like I said, something's going to trigger an action. Something is going to trigger an action. You did not just grab food, right? It could be one day you are actually hungry, as you said. Great. You went and got food. Fantastic. The next day though, you went into the kitchen. Why did you go into the kitchen? Oh, I just want something to eat. Why did you just want something to eat? Like, what's the cue that's making you go to the kitchen and open that fridge door and stare into the doom, even though you know there's nothing in there at the moment in time? Like, it sounds, but I just do that. Yes, you do. But there's a reason you're doing that. And I do feel that it's not picked up on one, because again, I suppose the more regular something is, the more normalized something is, the less likely we are to challenge it as something like it's a problem, not a problem, but it's something that needs to be addressed. Like, I know there's way more complexities to this, but like, I know when I was in my worst of my eating and struggles I had, I could not have biscuits in the household. If I had biscuits in the household, I would have been like to the point where like I would devour the packet. Whereas now I've actually learned I can have the biscuits. I actually, the other day, the kids left biscuits on my desk, right? I still picked them, but I had two and I tied them up.
Yeah.
10 years ago, the packet would have been gone and I would have been like that. I would have been fuming, and then I would have been overwhelmed. You see, there's all these patterns that come through that stuff. I've definitely just gone on a tangent there. If that ever happens, slow me down.
I was just going to add to that and say one thing that I notice. I mean, it's not exclusively women, but particularly in the women that I coach, a huge part of that cue and the trigger is actually unmet needs. So
what was that again? Say sorry.
So a huge part of that, of what like is a cue or a trigger for these women, unmet needs.
Yes. Okay. Go on. Yeah.
In, like, let's say potentially, like we were saying, like certainly like people of my age and older, so I'm just on the cusp of millennial, but we're brought up like, be good, sit down, don't make a fuss, all of that kind of like, be a hard worker, toe the party line, you're not supposed to say all these things. So there's lots of women who are potentially like my age and a little bit older who wouldn't want to, like, quote unquote, rock the boat at work, but
yes,
that might mean you come home feeling absolutely unheard, frustrated, and then you're like, you haven't even realized that that's gone on. It's all in here being processed. You get home and you're like, I've had such a bad day. And so you want to crunch something, because the body you move stress out of the body through physical action, obviously things like exercise, but it's not always our first thought. Or it can be things like, your partner, you've like planned out the meals for the week and you've asked your partner to cook something, and you get home and you've gone, I just got a takeaway in, and you're like, but then you eat the takeaway in stress
because it's there.
Because it's there. And so because
you don't want to say no to it and be abrasive, and it's even this, and again, it can come from a nice place. You'd be like, oh, but they thought they wanted to make it easier, or they maybe hadn't. And even though their feelings may be absolutely valid, you're also invalidating yourself potentially by not expressing that or allowing yourself to speak up. People pleasing is a specialty of my brain. I know that for a fact because I've been a people pleaser all my life. So
Same.
when I started working with women, I was like, holy shit, there's so many people who sound like what I used to do. But you don't realize how much you actually are willing to discomfort yourself to please others, because that's the role you're born into. Women particularly have been conditioned. Again, I've said, not saying this as in a distasteful way, but I'm saying this as in from people told me this. I'm just a mum. It's my job to get on with it. No, your role is to make sure they're safe, healthy, and fed. Essentially, right? You are not in a role to ignore yourself. There will be times where balance doesn't favor that. I appreciate that, but there will be times where you might have to make the time for it, and you will have to face these feelings. But you are never expected to remain silent.
No. Yeah,
Do you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, it's so complex.
Yeah, I like that unmet needs thing is perfect, like because it's so true and it ties in that emotional aspect to it. And I think everything I always do always comes back to the mental health part of it because I didn't realize how much this stuff leans into that.
Mm, yeah.
I think both of us, the more we've coached, the more stories you hear, the more we're like, our foundations are what they are by our values, but there is a lot of complexity way beyond just food in, food out.
Yeah, like if it was just eat more, no, eat less, move more, then we wouldn't have jobs, would we? Because it's the yes, of course, that's the science, right? We all know calorie balance is
Hmm.
the science, but the nuances of that for somebody's day-to-day life and the differences
Hmm.
from person to person, is massive. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is that, but it also isn't that.
So it's quite good. So you obviously said your start now strategy. I really like that actually. Would you do anything else to someone who's like, say, someone like, again, that person's right now, I feel like my body's got away from me. So I'm just like, look, think of the smallest actions you can do every single day that just get you going. So if you're doing exercise, that's something. I don't care if that's one day. I don't care if that's 3 days. If you're doing something consistently, you're doing that. Tick that box off. And again, I've had a client who said to me, I only have 15 minutes. And I'm like, that's cool. I was like, I'll tell you, I was like, you're not going to do masses in terms of the shaping, the toning, all that sort of stuff. But I was like, you're still going to build up the physical qualities of health by doing that. And it's better than nothing. I'd always rather you do that. I would never tell you, though, that it's the most optimal to achieve a certain outcome. I can't, like, at the end of the day, it's like saying, I always say nutrition's like a spectrum. You have the most intense tracking, more reliable methods up this end, which will be more likely to get you a result, calories in, calories out sort of style. And then you have the less intensive stuff down the bottom end, which will still get you some results, but it's a lot more, it's not as quick to get them, it's not as rewarding, that sort of thing. I suppose all that stuff depends on the situation you're in, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? People have got to do what works for them. So I've got a client who's working with me now who I'd worked with in the past. When we worked together, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. We
Mm-hmm.
used MyFitnessPal, we tracked calories. And now she's in a different place in her life. And she's like, Angela, I don't want to track calories. I want to learn how
Mm.
to eat intuitively to get to where I want to be and then to just stay there. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I think it's important for coaches to consider all the tools in the kit and then work with a person and what works with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I always feel like with a lot of people, it's always something to do with awareness first. Like, you've got to make them aware of what's going in them, what the changes are. 2 seconds. Yes, Roman. So yeah, the first step I always find with anyone is making that awareness, and however you do that is up to you. Again, I've had people who have tracked calories before. I'm like, if that's something you want to do right now, go ahead and do that. One I learned when I went to Perform X a few years ago was from I can't remember what team he was from, but it was Nutritionist. He's like, I like doing a 3 day photo diary. 2 days in the weekday, one day on the weekend, because you need one on the weekend to make them think about it. He says you can make so much changes by being like more of that, less that, tweak that, more of that, do more meals like this, have this meal regularly, whatever. And create that awareness. And then once you've done that, I was talking to someone on Threads about this morning. It's like, you don't need to do this stuff for as long as you think. Build the awareness, extrapolate it, what you've got. So if you track calories, I'm sorry, you don't need to track them for that long. Like, just pull the bits out that are freaking gold, plug the big holes that are causing the issues quicker. And then you've built someone who can kind of maintain where they're at just by doing that without the tracking. Like you said, build that breakfast. That breakfast is great. Let's have that. Then they do a second breakfast like that. Right, those two are on your menu. Let's keep those going.
yeah,
And then same with the dinners. You start to see dinners quite similar. You're like, okay, so you just kind of rotate that. They're like, yeah, I'm like, brilliant. Rotate that.
do that.
It's just build up the smallest possible outcome. Like, the best one I can always give examples of for this, right? I've had 2 clients over the years who've done this. One I'm working with now, one I worked with years ago. I had a girl who drank 6 bottles of Coke a day. 6. And people think they're like, what? And I'm like, yep, she drank 6 bottles of Coke a day. So I was like, what's that? 3 liters of Coke, right? I can't remember the maths, but obviously bear in mind Coke's lower nowadays, but it used to be what, like 200 to 300 calories a bottle, give or take. So I had to explain to her, I was like, right, so that is this many calories in that. That is close to your daily intake of a deficit, right? She was not aware of that. That's fine. Okay. So where can we meet? She says, I don't really like much other stuff. I was like, well, would you consider switching 2 or 3 of them out? She's like, oh, what two? I said, diet. She's like, is that okay? I was like, yeah, let's just start there.
That's fine.
And she lost, I cannot remember the amount of weight. She lost a load of weight doing that. She ended up getting down to 1 bottle a day.
Yeah.
And the weight kept coming off her. We didn't touch calories.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things like that, I think, for people, isn't there? Like, even things like, yeah, like I put peanut butter in my porridge every morning, and I'm like, how much? And they're like, oh, a spoonful, and I'm like, show me, like,
Yep.
200 calories every day. Like, just switch it out, or just try and go without it, or just use some of the powdered peanut butter for the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Like a massive number of calories taken out of your week. You probably don't have to change anything else, and you're going to start losing weight. And they're like, whoa.
It is funny though, like, because again, I think the more we see, the quicker we can plug those holes. Essentially,
Yeah.
I find the biggest one I have to work with, and that's why I did. That's why I did this video on it. The takeouts and the eating out. Like, I have clients who work corporate stuff. They're out 2 to 3 times a week sometimes, and I'm like, eating out once a week. I kind of do like, it's kind of, you just enjoy, it's usually for an enjoyment thing. You go out there and you enjoy it with purpose. You don't be a dick. You don't make yourself feel sick or anything like that.
Yeah.
I like to pick 2 as well. So it's like you have a starter, main, dessert, and alcohol. You pick 2 of them.
Yes.
That one always works really well. So that's for like 1 day a week. If you're eating 2 to 3 days a week, I'm always like, right, what's the important one here? And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, what thing is important to you? What matters to you? What one? Because again, food is usually social and like pleasure based, like in terms of enjoying with your friends, your family, whoever you're with. So I'm like, pick the one that matters the most. Because I said sometimes it's dinners you can take or leave it. And they're like, yeah, I don't really want to go to that one. I'm like, right, so that's the one that you compromise on, maybe either the day before, the day leading up to it, or when you're out, because you could take it or leave it. And again, it's simple strategies like that I find that people, that if they just started there, maybe,
Yeah.
like they wouldn't, like, even if you, because I don't, you probably do stuff like this. We put out so much stuff where we're trying to help people without them paying us, because I want to help people.
Yes.
And I know you're quite similar. Of course, we have our paid products. We have to make a living, unfortunately. And we are very time intensive for what we do. We spend a lot of one-to-one time with people and a lot of contact time with people. But we give out so much stuff that if they could just start there,
Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised at what you could achieve just doing that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I had a woman email me not long ago, and she was like, Angela, I know I don't pay you any money. She was like, but I just want to tell you that from what you've put out on your Instagram alone has like completely changed the way I think, the way I eat, my results in terms of body composition. And she was like, I'm so grateful. And I was like, yes, that's amazing, because I like you say, and I'm sure you're the same. If I didn't have to make a living, I would do this for free because I love it. But
Yep.
bills have to get paid and holidays have to be fun.
Yep. I always found it the hardest because it's like, I wanted to help more people, but I was like, Callum, you cannot help more people if you don't help yourself first. And that's the people pleasing part of it. So it came into my business. It came into that. And like, I charge what I charge, but like I said, I offer you, again, I know you do some things, you offer levels to the service. So I can help you at different levels. You can help you at different levels. I can help you without paying me. I can help you with paying low tier. I can help you paying with high tier. It depends on what you want. And again, I suppose that the argument of coach is not that it's essential and that you need it to get the result. It's essential in the fact you need the result to be done in a timely manner that doesn't feel like you're spinning in circles, basically.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think of the other example that people always use, but it's like, you don't need a coach, but I would save so much time going to someone mechanics. I can fix my car. I can. It's going to take me 3 to 4 hours to maybe do all my tires. He does it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And yes, he charges me more for it.
Yeah. Because you're not paying for the time, you're paying for the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? And I think that's a huge part about coaching. It's like, obviously we're both university qualified nutritionists. So we've got the background, the theory, but we've also coached for a really long time. So when people come, we're instantly like, that's that. Or I think that's that. Let's have a conversation about it. And you're like, so that's going to get you there so much quicker than working it out on your own. But I would say exactly like your content's like mine. People can get the results from what we put out there, but it just depends. Do you want to work it out on your own, or do you want to take the fast track?
Yeah. You're probably going to, again, go as hard into this or as little into as you want. One of my biggest frustrations right now, I have to spend a lot of my job convincing people that I'm not here to take the piss. I'm not here to mug them off or steal from them or anything like that. And I have accepted that's part of my job to do this now. When I talk to people through my lens and stuff like that, I'm like, I have to invest time in convincing people that I'm not here to steal from them, because the amount of bad experiences people have had, the amount of coaches, I'm using that loosely there, the amount of coaches that are out there that are getting results for people only because they know the basic calories in, calories out, essentially, and abusing that. And unfortunately, they don't know anything beyond that, so there's no substance to them. And I coach people, and I say this from the start, I coach people so they don't need me.
Yeah, same.
That is my job. I coach you so you can say, farewell, Callum. And I've had texts from it, like 4 months later, Callum, I feel like I can do this on my own. I hate that, because it's like, shit, I've lost business, but I haven't lost business. I've made the best part. I've done exactly what I wanted to do. And I don't know many, I understand why so many women are cynical nowadays, because everything's a supplement. Everything's something sold to fix their problem. I truly believe, though, that people like you and I will be, I hate the phrase tough love, because I don't like it, but I can't think of another phrase for it right now. But it's like, I will tell you the truth. So I start with 6 weeks. My 6 weeks is not to get you a result. My 6 weeks is just to show you I can actually change things for you in that short period of time, to make you trust me, to show you I can get a real result in the time it's actually going to take. I'm never going to pretend you get your full thing done in 6 weeks, though.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do. They sell the dream. 4 weeks, you're fixed.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's just the beginning.
It really is. A lifetime worth of struggle is not going to be fixed in 5 weeks.
No, it's not, is it? I would do exactly the same. I always say to people, like, my goal is for you to come and work with me, to understand yourself, to understand your barriers, to create systems and habits that will help you overcome those things that you can take into the rest of your life. So whatever results you get with me, you can either, you don't have to, maybe you've got like 5 stone you want to lose. You don't have to do all of it with me. I'll help you lose however much you want, and then you take it and you run with it, because you've got the educations and the systems in place. And exactly like you, when somebody messaged me, they're like, Angela, I don't think I need you anymore. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
My bank. But it's amazing.
Relationships with people as well. I always think when your best clients finish, it's like a breakup, and they're like,
yes.
You also want them to go and do the thing on their own. And I was in a mentorship a while back, and they were like, no, you should be making people stay for as long as possible. Like, don't give them everything that they need. Make them need you. And I was like, I have to leave. This isn't the right place for me, because I wholeheartedly believe in education. If people ask me what I do, or on like forms and surveys and stuff, I will often put education rather than health and fitness, because I want you to come and learn from me and then do it yourself, because I, more than anything, but because of, like, obviously at the very beginning we spoke about that horrible diet mindset that I was in, and I would have done anything for somebody to have coached me like I coach people. And
that exactly.
Yeah, I was just into any fad going, like, and then obviously the bikini competition was like the peak of the fads, and after that I was like, no more.
Because I talk about it, so like, again, I know I'm always very, very aware that what I do from a male perspective doesn't always cross over as much, because again, it's very different. But I was in this position where I was like 20-30 kilos lighter, and like you just said, that I would have begged someone, because I had the body image issues of being too small, not being masculine enough, and just not feeling like I fit the mold of a man. And that was my struggle. And obviously I extrapolate to women. There are societal pressures for women to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to be a certain type of person. I experienced that, but for the male aspect, I would have given anything to have that, because that was a 10-year journey to get out of that hole. When I was still talking to you at the time in uni, I was, every bit of food in my mouth had to be tracked, because otherwise I couldn't gain weight, or I couldn't keep my weight the same. It had to be that. It was only when I went to Scotland, and I remember I was around a lot of the other coaches there who were shit strong. S&C is a brutal world. They are all strong, and it's scary when you're the smallest guy in the room. And I was like, I don't need to focus on my food right now. I just need to just do what these guys are doing and experience the high of pushing myself as physically. And oddly, once I shift, and this has come from a strength competition coach, it's like, exercise is my baby. Like, I got around all these guys who were just like, get after it, look up, like, let's push each other, right? No one's obsessed about it, but we're all here for a good time, put some good music on, good crack, that sort of stuff. And I started chasing it, and then naturally what I wanted to do naturally happened. Not because I was forcing it, not because I was pressuring myself. And before I knew it, that obsessive behavior had left me. Only did I take stock of it, and I was like, holy shit, that's gone. And I'm like, why has it gone? Then I reflect on it, why it disappeared. And then, like I said, you build that system up and you're like, I would have given my left leg for someone to help me get out of that hole. And I think that's what a lot of people, they never have had that experience themselves. It's like, I don't know if I should, if I'm going to get that either.
Yeah.
Because even in the business space, I know, like everyone, we're sold a dream, right? That if we just work hard enough, we could be the next 6-figure coach or the next 7, whatever, right? To the people trying to lose weight or try and get into shape, it's like, you can look like this woman here. And I'm very worried that I don't always say stuff like that, because I'm like, I'm not trying to show you this woman's experience because you can be like her. I'm just saying there's someone who maybe feels the way you do, who has a similar lifestyle to you, who has managed to face the demons, the battles, the barriers herself and get to the other side of it. You won't get the exact same result, but you can still do something comparable in your own skills and lifestyle.
You want to share it to like empower others that like you're not stuck. Like, it's not something that can't be changed. Like one of my favorite stories to share is about a client who came to me. She was 48. She was smack bang in the middle of menopause. She'd actually tried GLP-1s and they didn't suit her.
Okay.
She also had complications with things like PCOS. And she was just like, oh, I just don't think I can do it, but I really want to, so I'm going to give you a try. And we worked together and she lost 10 kilos in 12 weeks. And she was
Amazing.
like, she was super focused, but I keep in touch with her. And she's like, yeah, I've kept it off. And during that time, she still had takeouts. She went on weekends away. She did all of the normal life stuff. And we actually just built the routine around what she did. And that's a story that I want to share. Not so people can be like, oh my God, I could never do that. It's to be like, no, despite whatever's going on, there is progress for you. And it might not look like hers, but there is progress and change that can be made.
I think that's the other brute reality, isn't it? What me and you try and do is bring the reality of the standard. It's not bring the standards down, but bring the reality standards back to the forefront.
Yeah.
Because again, great. If you want to do a photo shoot, please do.
Exactly.
That is the one day you're going to be that shape.
Yeah.
Imagine feeling healthy. You can go up sets of stairs. You can go out for takeouts without crying about it. Like, you imagine all these feelings that you feel that are negative. That feel like you just feel like I'm doomed to feel this way for the rest of my life. Can you imagine just being on the other side of that fence, looking back, and being like, I can enjoy a takeout and then go back to normal just straight away.
Yeah.
I can do a workout one week and feel good myself, and I can accept the next week I'm too tired to go this morning, and I'll go the next day. That compassion mindset, or that life doesn't stop the next day because of some action the day before.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think that's a huge thing. It's so odd, isn't it? Like, it's the all or nothing idea, isn't it? It's like, if it's not happening now, I can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, which is and it is that mindset that people get stuck in. I think it links back to perfectionism that we were talking about earlier. People are like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, there's no point. And I'm like, but actually the point is not to do it perfectly and just to do it consistently and make it easy enough to achieve.
And consistency doesn't look sexy either. That's the because people hear, oh, but I know I have to be consistent, but it's like, how do I? Because it's like, it doesn't mean doing the best every day. It doesn't mean ticking all your green boxes. It means if you had a shit day, did you just get 6K steps maybe than 10? Yeah, okay, cool. So we got a minimum that we like to do. That's actually easily achievable every single day. So I always said it was when you have your bad head days or you just want to hide away from the clouds kind of day. I got up and walked around my apartment or on my step for 6K. That's it. Just simple action. Or, you know what, I had my normal breakfast that day. The best one for me that I personally share, and it's always funny again, because you share quite a lot of experiences of negative experiences of nutrition from a nutritionist, right? That's where you originally came from Leicester Sea Coach. When I was going through the worst depressive periods of my life, training made my problems worse. I couldn't go to the gym because it increased my anxiety. I couldn't go to the gym because I was going there. I was like, it's not numbing my feelings anymore. Exercise became a thing. I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm a strength coach. How is that meant to happen? You felt very like that. What I had to do is accept it for being something just to look after myself. So I started just doing 1 day a week for a period of time. I'm just doing it to tick over and maintain my strength. That's all I'm there for. I'm not there to make myself feel better. I'm not there to do anything else. I'm just there to stop myself feeling any worse in terms of my body deteriorating. And I think that is the real consistency, I think, is. It's like, again, if I took 2 weeks off, coming back on the third week is still consistency.
Yeah.
Because you're still sticking to the goal.
Yeah. It's lowering that barrier, isn't it? Like thinking about how, like, what could I do to actually get myself there? So when I was at like some of the worst with my mindset, I would just say to myself, right, I'll make myself a deal. I'm going to walk to the gym and I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the first exercise on my list. And if I don't want to stay and I feel really uncomfortable, I can leave, but at least I can say I've been to the gym.
I literally teach something like that called my 10-minute rule. You do 10 minutes.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times you stay. 9 out of 10 times. And on that 1%, one time you don't, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And there were times when I was like, no, not doing this. And I just left. But there was, like you say, 90% of the time, I'd get my workout done.
I remember I learned it from counselling, actually. It was actually when I chose, I can't remember, what was it? Was it when I chose to leave Tesco? Yeah, that was it. She said, you can deal with negative consequences better when you make the choice yourself. If the choice is made for you and there's a shit outcome, your body is like very hurt and very, oh, but that was taken away and that was done and out of control, that sort of thing. Whereas if you make the action and it goes wrong, of course it's not fantastic. You're very much better of kind of like coming to terms with it and dealing with it, if that makes sense. So that's what you do there. That was it, accepting the choice you made.
Yes. Oh yeah.
If you make yeah, that's it. There we are, back now. Good. If you make a choice and the outcome is negative, you can come back quicker from it. So I made a choice to, rather than get my normal chippy order, right? I got this. It maybe wasn't as good as I thought it was, so you feel a bit crappy for that because it wasn't as good as you thought when you put it in MyFitnessPal, for example. But I at least made that effort to reduce the total and align with my goals. It's not perfect, but you've made an attempt to improve something. Amazing. I'd rather that every day of the week.
Yeah, you did something. You took control, and you can feel proud of yourself for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So either one action to start today, what would it be, or one myth you could get rid of forever in the fitness space?
Ooh.
Do you have anything for those? If not, don't worry, but I thought I'd ask it anyway because I always like finish from a bit of a brain quiz. Okay, so if you could do one action today, what would you go with?
So I would always start my day with so you can do this, and even if you have got you've got kids and you haven't got a single minute spare in the day, you can definitely do this because it doesn't actually add any minutes to your timeline.
Okay, yep, cool.
Start with some gratitude and a positive affirmation. Doesn't necessarily need to be like super like gooey positive, but just something that you want to think about for your day. So my favorite time to do this is I go downstairs in the morning, I fill up my pint glass, and I stand at the back door. But if you don't have time for that, do it whilst you're cleaning your teeth, because you are going to clean your teeth regardless of what is going on in your life. So as you're standing there cleaning your teeth or electric toothbrush, whichever one you've got, think to yourself, okay, what am I grateful for? And try and like not be grateful for like the weather or the roof over your head. Try and be grateful for some small thing, something little, like maybe it was like the way that your kid smiled at you this morning or the way that your partner made you a cup of coffee, like little things, because I think that they are more powerful. We're all grateful for having a roof over our heads and the food that we eat. Not praying here.
Do you know what? I can relate to that because like this morning, I think I wrote it in my caption on my post. I've been quite hard on myself with my parenting recently just because I've had a bit of a up and down wave of it.
Yeah.
This morning, the youngest was having a bit of a meltdown. And I went downstairs and I went in, just all playful. And we've been getting her dressed all day, every day this week for the school. I went in all playful and she perked out of her mood. We had a little bit of a laugh together. She cracked on. She went to school on time. When normally when she has a meltdown, that could throw off her whole day. I thought about that just on my drive to the schools today.
Yeah.
Like, look at what you've done.
Yeah.
So you could have gone in there with the old school mindset, just get ready for school, go on, hurry up, we're going to be late. I went in, had a wee laugh with her, had a little game with her. She got the outcome still.
Yeah. And it's really nice, isn't it, to reflect on those little moments. Like, yeah, actually, like, I changed my approach. I did a good thing. We got a good outcome. And then I always like to think as well of, like, what's one thing that if I achieve today, I would be happy with by the end of the day. So it might just be I drank some water. I went to the gym. Always try and make it, like, a little bit measurable. So I drank 2 litres of water. I hit my bare minimum steps. I made sure I had fruit and vegetables with all my main meals. And then whatever happens during the day, at the end of the day, when you're cleaning your teeth again, you can just think back to what you set yourself that morning and be like, I achieved something today. And even if your day has gone completely off the rails, you've got a chance of being able to say to yourself, today was a good day.
That's brilliant. Like that. Yeah, no, I like that because like you said, it doesn't have the barrier to time.
Yeah.
It's just say something to yourself in the morning. I do when you brush your teeth or whenever you're driving someone to school, whenever you're going to work yourself, just say something. If I do this by the end of the day, cool. I know I've got a busy day. I know that meeting's going to happen. If I do this, fantastic. make it achievable, make it a lower barrier, get that win. Because this day is not designed to be excelled. This day is designed to be tick that box and move on
Yeah. And then it's a win.
and feel. Yeah, exactly. I actually, you know what, I love that because
Good.
that's something I think about, but I don't actually say out loud to do. But I do quite regularly. Actually, I actually really, really like that. Right, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I want to make sure you get all the right things in. So, Angela, Instagram, any other things, like any business stuff you want to promote at the moment? I know you do a lot of different projects, so
Yeah, so like my main offering is one-to-one coaching, which is like my baby. It's what I love. But I do also run a group program. So the group program is much more about um it's a kind of course group hybrid. So you've got modules to
okay.
listen to and learn from, but then you've got a group element for the community and the support. It's called Your Perfect. And the theory of that is about finding your version of perfect, which is not
Love that.
perfect.
Love that.
Yeah, and that's just kind of open on a rolling basis. So yeah, if you want to come and find me, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, that's a brave new world.
What's your tag?
All the same. So it's Next Level Nutrition Coach.
Perfect. I'll throw that in. This goes Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So I'll throw that in the show notes for each of them.
I just want to say thanks for having me on. It's been great to chat and catch up. And yeah, I think if there's one thing that I want people to take away from the conversation that we've had is, it's really about recognizing that you are in control of the changes, but you have to let yourself win in order to empower yourself and rebuild your confidence. Because at this point in life, you're probably feeling a little bit battered by all of the diet culture, by all of the changes that you're going through, by all of the stuff that's going on in life. And then you're trying to pile the pressure on yourself to change. Take the pressure
Yeah,
off, permission, not restriction, and just take it one day at a time.
I love that. I love that. That's a perfect note to finish on. Right.